Hey Mystics! Today I'm going to share with you what made me go from I want to start a business someday to actually making my first dollar online. If you're new to my channel, I'm Dr. Kara. I help build a six-figure spiritual business. I have over 10 years working online in ed tech. I have a PhD in learning design, and I'm a trained mystic. That means I combine real business strategy with mystical tools so that you can build a high-frequency business that is sustainable and that actually works. Because no matter how spiritual or mission-driven you are, money is still part of the equation. And if you've been getting stuck at the starting line, this video will help. I talk to so many lightworkers, mystics, and spiritual practitioners who are here on the planet to do big things, but they never actually start. Once they post, they get overwhelmed and they spiral. Or you may not actually post anything at all. Or they spend years thinking that they're going to get started, but never actually make that first step into building a business. And the truth is, I have been there. I was stuck in a mindset spiral for years. Back when I first founded Mystic Twist in 2020, I literally had no idea what I was doing. I knew I wanted to start a business, and then I did, but I had no idea how to make an online product, how to sell it to people, how to do taxes, or really anything about running a business. Back in 2020, I was in a mindset spiral. I knew I wanted to start a business, but I had no idea how to do it, let alone make one that was actually successful and aligned with my spiritual values. I was super scared to fail, had no idea where to start, and that basically resulted in me doing nothing for 5 years. Eventually, I realized something had to change. So today, I'm going to share with you the 7 steps that I had to figure out the hard way to finally get my act together, put my business together in a way where not only did I feel satisfied with it, but I actually started to make money online. Step 1, get clear on your why. So every single business owner, no matter what type of business you're forming, really has to understand and answer this question for yourself. Why do you want to start a business? If you don't have clarity or a really strong drive to do it, you're not going to succeed. And the reason for that is because, well, running a business isn't exactly the easiest thing in the world to do. It involves a lot of risk, ambiguity, and you're your own boss. So you need to put structures in place to make things work. Now, I'm not saying it has to be hard or difficult. It's just that there are going to be things that you're going to have to do as a business owner that you don't necessarily want to do, but have to do anyway. This could be things like filing paperwork, taxes, figuring out finances, coming up with new strategies, or just responding to customers in a support way. So when things get tedious, or if you feel like you're spiraling and having an existential crisis and not remembering why you thought to do this in the first place, going back to your why is really helpful. So in my case, I wanted to start a business for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to build wealth. I'm here to make money and I'm not apologetic about it. And the reason why I want to focus on owning a business is because rich people own businesses. There's a lot of different types of rich people out there, but for me, the most believable story in becoming really rich is to have a very successful and profitable business. So I'm in it to gain wealth, but also to share that knowledge and insight and that value that I gain with my audience and my customers too, which leads me to my second why. I want to help light workers also get rich in learning how to build a successful business. Think about it. If we had just 100 billionaires on the planet who were light workers, the whole entire planet would look so different. There's over 2,000 billionaires on the planet, and I don't think a single one is necessarily focused on building the new paradigm or making the world inherently a better place just by literally the act of their business. Now, I'm not saying every billionaire is evil, but just think about it. If someone like you had $1 billion, what would you do with that wealth? You would probably create a lot of amazing, beautiful structures on the planet that help people or improve our environment and where we live and can thrive from. And I also find that light workers tend to be broke all the time, which kind of breaks my heart because we're so busy surviving, we don't have time to actually thrive or make an impact on the planet the way that, let's say, other nefarious agendas do. So money and mission. This combo is what constantly brings me back and reinforces reinforces that satisfaction and that drive to starting and building and expanding my business. So get super clear on your why, because you're gonna need that push and that drive to get you through those sticky points. But it also can be super inspiring, and it's far more effective to run a spiritual business if you know that your work is inherently improving life on earth, whether it be for the human collective, Gaia, or all of the above. Step 2, give yourself permission to learn. When I first started my business, I literally knew nothing about how to run a business. My entire background and life is in academia and education. And most of that is focused on learning how to learn or teaching something, not how to, do sales or get customers or figure out finances and become profitable. Unfortunately, I learned pretty early on that I had no idea what I was doing, and I had to change that. So I gave myself permission to take the time, spend the money, and actually learn how to run a business. And I really mean this seriously. I gave myself an entire year of putting my business on pause to just study how to run a business in all of its formats. So this meant I had to learn how to define my audience, build a product, offer that product, fulfill that product, learn how to collect payments, send it to them, do taxes, any other legal paperwork, financial projections, and so on and so forth. So I literally spent thousands of dollars within this year time frame to take online courses, read books, listen to podcasts, get a business coach, talk to people I know, and studied as much as I could in as many frameworks that I thought were interesting to me. This ranged everything from how to make money by posting on LinkedIn, to becoming a self-published author, to doing retail and e-commerce, to services, consulting, and all sorts of other types of financial products and services. In other words, I didn't limit myself because I didn't know at the time what kind of business I wanted to run. There are so many different ways you can make money, and there's no one tried and true way. An important element is to look at what type of business is going to resonate with you, your personality, your lifestyle, and something that you can do for the foreseeable future, because it's going to take a lot of your time, so you might as well enjoy what it is you're doing. But remember, if you're going to take the time to do this, you really have to allow yourself to have that time to learn and give yourself permission to suck. In other words, it's okay to be a beginner. You're not going to stay one forever. But if you're anything like me, I often beat myself up or feel super guilty that I don't know everything immediately, especially in a new area or industry where I have zero experience. It's kind of crazy if you think about it, but a lot of people generally have way too high of an expectation on themselves, especially if they literally have no experience or are brand new to an industry. So let's be reasonable and gentle with ourselves, yeah? We don't have to compare ourselves to someone who's already making millions of dollars online. You just gotta stick with the basics and become aware of what you don't know. From a mystical perspective, this is expanding our awareness, right? If you don't know how to run a business, we expand that sphere of awareness so that we can see more and discern more, because now we're literally more aware. It's the same thing in business. Figure out what you're not good at or what you don't know about and spend time educating yourself. Believe me, it's gonna save a ton of time, money, and effort if you take the time to do it up front versus down the line. I was actually already 2 years into co-founding iBlends Academy before I took the time to learn how to run a business. And I wish I had done it at the very beginning, because it would have made things so much easier down the line. But don't be like me, learn from my experiences and don't repeat my mistakes. So after you've done a little bit of research, then you can get to step 3. Decide how you want to run your business. Like I mentioned before, there's a ton of ways that you can create a business and sell stuff to people, especially if you have a spiritual or mission-driven goal. For me, I decided that I wanted to have a business that was very conducive to my lifestyle. I live in a very rural area, I like online stuff, and I'm kind of a techie nerd. So I knew that I wanted to do something in a digital or online space. No storefront, no retail, just something that literally people can click and buy using a phone or a computer. I also leaned into teaching because this is where I have expertise and a very extended background. I love teaching to people, I love sharing knowledge, but I also love learning from my students. And that lends itself so well to having an online business that involves teaching, coaching, services, consulting, or digital products that somehow are information or skill-based. And I realized I wanted to combine my interests and my strengths into my business. So for example, if you're new to my channel, you might see me talking about not only woo-woo stuff like mystical tools and exercises, but I may throw in some, AI and tech speak because that's another big area of my expertise and of my interests too. And this is where you can start to really have fun and embody the type of business that you want to create. Because at the end of the day, at an energetic level, you own and resonate at the same frequency of your business because your business is you. You're the one holding that foundational, energetic, vibrational signature, and everything you do in the business is actually going to reflect your frequency. So if you're working on things in your business at a core level that you find super inspiring, uplifting, interesting, and filled with curiosity, that is going to make it so much easier to infuse all of your products or your services with that energy. So think about where your frequency is at its highest or the type of interests and experiences that you really love and enjoy to do. Forming your business around that is a great start. Now, of course, there are going to be things that you're going to have to do in your business that you don't always enjoy, or maybe you're not an expert at, but that's okay. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but at a core level, you want your mission or your focus on what you're building your products and services around to really align with how you feel and what you want to bring to the world. Okay, step 4, choose a daily commitment. Now, really what that turns into is a money sinkhole because it literally takes money every year to keep a business up and running at a legal level or an operational level. You might need to file fees and taxes every year or just have software payments that you have to make in order to keep your business running. So if you ignore it, like I did for many years, then you're basically just throwing money away without really doing anything with it. So I really started to shift my mindset when I realized that I wasn't doing anything with my business for so long that I was literally driving myself crazy. In fact, I got so sick of myself and I was sick of being sick of myself, if that makes sense. In other words, I knew I was just spinning and spiraling, not doing anything for months or years in some cases with my business, throwing away money on all of these useless expenses, and I just got over it. But how I got over it is key. So in October 2024, I decided that I was going to commit to posting one thing on Instagram once a day for an entire year. So let's back up for a sec. Why did I decide to do this? First of all, as part of step 2 of studying, I found a marketing and business guru called Alex Hormozi, whom I really like and enjoy his work and find his mission super inspirational. One of the practical pieces of advice that he often gives is just do one thing for a year and see what happens. Just do that. His point is that most people don't even start, and most people after that don't keep going. And it's really the people who just keep going that end up making successful businesses. So as the researcher that I am, I wanted to try it out and experiment it on myself. So that's what I decided to do. I literally wrote down the date, October 24th, 2024, and said, I am going to make a post every single day for a year. Here's the proof. Now, the reason why I chose Instagram is actually because of that business strategy that I learned back in step 2. I learned that surprisingly, a lot of people can make pretty good money with social media, especially Instagram, because it allows you to connect with your audience directly. You can slip into DMs, do some sales pitches with posts and reels, but also it's just a really beautiful space and it monetizes really well. So I decided to shove everything aside, ignore the website that I spent a couple years building, and start from scratch and just focus on making posts. Now, believe me, I did not know what I was doing and I didn't feel ready. In fact, most of the time, I didn't even know what to post, but I showed up anyway. And that is the key. Doing this act over and over is ultimately what helped shape my identity and realize that I needed to step into that energy of becoming a business owner or a CEO. I had to not only present myself to the public that, yes, I'm a business owner, but it got me into that habit of working on my business, even if it was just one small thing a day, every single day. Now, what really surprised me is that I actually started to see some pretty big results way before I even got to the year mark. In fact, I literally haven't even gotten to the year mark as of this recording, which is August 2025. So looking back, it's amazing to see all of the progress I've made just by doing something a little bit at a time every single day. In fact, I made my first sale on Instagram in March 2025. That's just a few months after October of 2024. And I wasn't even planning to make sales or have some kind of financial goal. I still kept to that single thing of just post something every single day. But what happened is I saw how to improve and make my content better. So first, you just got to start with starting. Give yourself permission to suck. And then over time, you refine and you get better. I went back to step 2, started to study people who did Instagram and made money off of it and mimicked and understood their approach. So I started to copy that. Am I a full-blown expert at it? No, not even close, but it's fine because I'm building those habits. I'm getting more comfortable throughout the process and gaining confidence along the way. This is ultimately what helped me really feel like I'm a business owner. And even though I co-founded a business before that made over 6 figures in income, somehow it felt different doing it with co-founders or working off an already established audience. This time it was all on me, and I had to really wear that mantle of ownership and stepping into the business. And the best way that I could exemplify that and really embody it was by doing something once a day, every day. So I encourage you to do the same. Just do one small thing a day and you will be so surprised how quickly this goes from a really painful process where you have no idea what you're doing to a habit that just kind of feels easy at some point. In other words, it gets easier the more you practice. So practice. Number 5, close the gap and start. So back during that year when I was studying how to become a business owner and really run a business, that was really important. And I'm so glad I took the time to actually study and get my foundations figured out because I really needed to know what I didn't know. But at some point that learning was turning into procrastination. And like I said before, I was getting sick of myself. I wasn't doing anything. I was just learning or spinning or thinking about what I could be doing, but not actually doing it. So stop waiting. At some point, you just got to build the damn thing. And again, you don't have to be super fancy or an expert or have it all figured out. In fact, I made my first $1,000 off of my Instagram funnel by just doing posts, putting up a free lead magnet and offering a low ticket product at the end of that funnel. And I actually made sales. Posting on Instagram was something that I was still really insecure about because it's something I haven't had a lot of experience doing. Most of the money that I've made as a successful entrepreneur was by selling online courses. In other words, I would sell courses costing anywhere from $100 to $5,000 through a newsletter channel of communication. But posting on social media and making money that way, I had no idea how to do that. But I didn't let it stop me. I just decided to give it a try and see what would happen. And much to my surprise, people actually liked my stuff and they bought it. So at some point you just gotta stop waiting and just do the thing. Even if you fail and let's say nobody signs up for your lead magnet or your product isn't making any sales, then just take that as data. Failure is feedback. It's just a feedback loop saying something is not quite working right. Don't take it personally like I did for so long. Instead, change your mindset, reframe it, and look at it as, okay, I gotta change this. It's clearly not working. Or, wow, people actually signed up for that? I should do more of that. It's simple. Number 6, set your goal and then reverse engineer it. So like I mentioned before, my first goal was to post content every day for a single year and see what happened. Now I have changed my goal into something else and I'm reverse engineering it, or in other words, working backwards on what it would take to achieve that goal and then mapping out what I need to do to get there. So for example, right now, my current financial goal is to make enough monthly recurring revenue, or MRR, so that it replaces 60% of the income or the salary I get from my current corporate job. Now, what I like about this is it gives me a clear, measurable goal, make 60% of my income, and then I can work backwards to see, okay, what do I need to make every single month in order to reach that goal? And then knowing what I need to make every month helps me figure out what I need to build, whether it's new products and services, how to price them, how many customers I need to get every single month. And that informs strategy like recurring revenue through subscriptions, one-time products. There's a lot of ways to go about it, right? But it helps give me that structure that I need to actually move forward in a path that feels not only achievable, but something that helps me move along and feels aspiring along the way. So you can do the same. No matter where you are in your business, whether you've been established for over 10 years or you're just getting started, you should always have some kind of financial business goal for your business. Because remember, at the end of the day, we are in the business of making money, and how we make money can be enriching to the human collective and to the planet. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad or evil thing, but quite the opposite. You're providing some kind of value to the world, and your effectiveness of providing that value is literally measured by the dollars that you receive. So this brings me to the last step, which actually could be any number on the list. In fact, I have done this step so many times in every single order. I can't emphasize how important it is, which is why I saved it for last. You need to process your fears. Now remember, I had no idea what I was doing when I first started my business. I'm an academic, I am a teacher, I'm a techie nerd. What do I know about making money? Well, to be honest, I had to process a lot of fears on many different things. Things like being seen, feeling like an idiot, not being good enough, not knowing what I was doing. The list was endless. The specific exercise that I use is the fear processing exercise by Nellie Benz. It's completely free. If you want to check it out, link is in the description. Doing this exercise though has helped me face so many emotional or mental resistances that it actually removed those blocks in a way where I could step forward and progress without this heaviness at an energetic level. So if you're a spiritual entrepreneur, you know how important it is to do your inner work as a process to reflecting your outer world or your external reality. So you got to keep working on yourself and doing that inner work because, like I said before, your business is literally a reflection of your frequency. And so let's do our best and do our due diligence to make our frequency as high as possible. Not only does it make our life better, literally, but it will help attract other people who are resonating at that same frequency and want to support your work through, let's say, buying your products, collaborations, affiliates, all sorts of things. So the best tool that I've found to do this, and it's not the only tool to use, but I find that it's incredibly helpful when dealing with foundational issues like fears, is to process them. You'll find that it'll be a lot easier to move forward with any of the other steps that I listed in this video once you process your fears. If you're trying to start your business but getting stuck, remember this. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need a fancy logo. And really, you just need clarity, intention, and a next step. So start with your why, study what you need to, take one intentional action a day, process your fears, and keep going. If this video helped you in any way, hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every week on high frequency business practices, mystical tools that you can incorporate in your life, and how to create a business that you love without the burnout. And if you know a friend who's stuck at the starting line, then be sure to share this video with them too. Remember, your gifts matter and the world needs you. So what better way to make some money along the way while you're sharing your gifts with the world? I'll see you in the next video.